Thanks for downloading another segment from the Best of the Classic Metal Show. The Classic Metal Show is heard live on Saturdays from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com. And now here's another piece of Classic Metal Show history on the Best of the Classic Metal Show.
The Classic Metal Show.
From the latest release from Chris Caffery, that's House of Insanity with No Matter What. And Chris, you know, no matter what this guy does, no matter what he puts out, he always wants to be a guest on the Classic Metal Show. God knows why. But on the phone, once again with us, we've got Chris Caffery. Welcome back to the Classic Metal Show, Chris.
It's great to be here, and I mean, why wouldn't somebody want to be a guest on the Classic Metal Show? That's what you got to ask.
Well, you know, the problem is, Chris, not everybody has a sense of humor that you possess, and that rock and roll spirit and attitude, and, you know, some guys are just a little uptight about their, you know, about being artists and all, and they can't take a little ribbing and a little jabbing, but you understand how that goes, so we're always glad to have you back.
Well, that's good. It's always good to be back, so... Yeah, no, I'm just getting into the year and enjoying my little bit of time off. I'm not really completely off. I mean, it is tax time, so you got to deal with that. But I'm doing that and actually setting up all the retail stuff for House of Insanity as we speak, because I know I was kind of promising that to be available on retail by February, but I do not think that's going to happen. I think the retail release is going to be in March and a little bit later. And I thought I still may, the very end of February, get the autographed CDs on my website like I promised. But I think the stuff in stores isn't going to happen until March.
Well, I can't imagine what you've been doing, man. It's not like you were on tour playing, 5 hours a day for 2 months. Busy tour as always, huh?
Oh my God, it was busier than ever. I think we had 72 shows in 60 days, and the matinee days we still did the signing lines, which we call the third show. After the show was over, if you've never seen TSO when we play, we'll stay, and whoever wants to stay in the arena to meet the band can, and sometimes those lines were going to 12:30. 1 at night, but you know what? It's not anything to complain about. We were very fortunate to be in the position we're in with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and we were actually really happy to see that 1.2 million people came out to see us again this year. And despite everything that's going on in this crazy country, we still had a very good tour. And we brought the biggest show we ever had. We went from, I think it was 14 semis of lights to 17 semis of lights. We really didn't raise ticket prices and made our show extremely expensive, so we kind of, Paul O'Neill went out on a limb to make sure we had the best show possible. It was actually, what we found out was the largest light show that was ever hung inside of a arena indoors ever. We actually had some places that couldn't handle the weight. We weren't allowed to put all the lights up.
Wow. Well, Chris, we talked to your bass player in Savatage and TSO, Johnny Lee Middleton, a little bit ago, and one of the things that he was saying was that he never in his wildest...
All lies.
Yeah.
All lies.
No, nothing about you.
No, go ahead. Okay.
What he was saying what he was saying was that he never, ever envisioned when 1985, 86, when he got into Savatage, he never envisioned being up on a stage playing in front of 1 million people in a tuxedo, and entertaining people aged 5 to 70. Are you feeling kind of the same thing now?
Yeah, I think we're both in a state of shock over that, and it was good this year because if you also don't know, there's an East Coast and a West Coast touring group for TSO, and we go out, and the very first tour, of course, it was just one band, but we split up after that, and on tour number 2, Johnny went to the West, and I was on the East, but this year was the first year that Johnny had been back with me on the East Coast tour, and I said that to him a bunch of times on this tour. Just look at him on stage when we're up there playing in the tuxedo, and I think about the old days when we were up there in a pair of jeans and a Savatage shirt playing in front of thousands of sweaty metal guys, and our audience wasn't predominantly female with Savatage ever, we're not that kind of band. I mean, John Oliva was not the poster child for for dragging in the women crowd. I mean, we had a really strong metal crowd, and with TSO, I mean, we have, like Johnny said, anywhere from, he says 5 to 70, I say 8 to 80. It's like, we have that, and it is, I think, in the demographic, I think we are a larger percentage of females than males, and it's just it's a crazy thing. Well, crazy thing.
Well, Chris, I caught the show again this year here in the Chicago area at the Allstate Arena. I caught the early show, and I brought someone along with me that had never seen the show before. They were very skeptical as to what they were going to see. But once we left, obviously it was nothing but oohs and ahs. And, of course, the second half of the show is always my favorite. What part of the show is your favorite? Doing the actual story, or just doing the rip loose at the end and just start jamming?
It kind of depends on how tired I am. There's sometimes when I enjoy the slower parts. I always say to people that if they ever took Old City Bar out of the set, I would shoot people, because that's like, song could be, depending on how slow the song is played, can be like an 8-minute break for me to get off the stage. But I enjoy all different parts of that set, and there's really, it some days depends on certain moods that you're in. I mean, there could be a day when you're in a really, you might have talked to somebody at home that you missed in the holiday season, and you'll get up on stage during that first half, and you get to some of these songs that are specifically talking about people being away from home and holidays, and you'll look out in the crowd and you'll see somebody that may have lost somebody in their family that year, or within a few years, whatever, or just missing, and you watch them crying, and then you get kind of choked up at it. And then there's other times when you walk up there and you just see all the pyro and the lights, and you're up on a riser 30 feet in the air, and you just look around at an arena with 16,000 people in it, and you're like, wow, that's over the top heavy metal, hard rock and roll show. And it's just, like I said, for me it all depends. I mean, I enjoy the whole entire show. There's different parts to me that have different emotions, that bring out different emotions, but as a musician and a performer, I enjoy being up there the whole time. And like I said, I really think having Johnny next to me on stage this year made things a lot more fun for me, because it was like having a really good friend back up there again, and we would just look at each other with a sarcastic look on our face going, what are we doing?
Well, it's very cool for me as a classic metal fan to see you up there with Alex Skolnick, and of course Jeff played on drums, and Johnny Lee on bass up there and stuff. So it's for people who are not into the type of music Chris and I are into, but knowing who you guys are and what you've done in the past, it feels like old home week up there just watching you guys doing that show, even though it is a big production or a big play almost, to that effect, but it's not sappy in any way.
Yeah, no, we like to make sure that we keep the edge on it, because I think the last thing we'd ever want to do is to get bored playing, and not like any of us would ever get bored playing music, but you want to keep the same feeling that you always had playing live in front of people. And I know that's sometimes, not necessarily difficult to do in a tuxedo, but when you want to sit back and analyze the situation, it's like, all right, well, you are playing in front of, somebody's grandkids and the grandmother and everybody in between, and it's like, you could get complacent and stand there and go, well, it's this multi-million-dollar light show, and we could lay back and just kind of let the lights do the talking. But with us, we really just like to go up there and push each other to play better and perform better, and really bring a lot of energy to it, and show these people it's like, hey, we're up here for on stage for 5-6 hours a day, but we're really lucky to be doing this, and we appreciate every single person that's in that arena, and we want to show them that. I mean, we look at people that look at us, and they know that we're on like the 9th and 10th show of a week, and they're looking at us and they're going, God, these guys are still giving us, pretty much everything they have, and they give it back, and they realize that we're not taking advantage of them, and we're not taking the situation for granted at all.
Very cool. Well, Chris, obviously, man, moving past the 8 to 80, as you said, and moving strictly back to the metalheads, you're back once again, year after year, it seems. 12 months later, we get another Chris Caffery solo record. This one a little different from the other ones, though. The other ones almost seemed like, you know, and I'm not trying to categorize it, but it seemed like you were doing a little bit more modern songwriting than you did on this one. This one definitely has that throwback feel to it, and on most of it. Do you see it that way? And if I'm even right on that, why did you go that way?
You're actually 100% right, and you know what happened is I think that what I realized when I did this solo stuff, I mean, I had no freaking idea what I was doing when it came to singing, and I mean, I'd written songs and played in all different kinds of metal bands, but when I sat there going, like, what am I going to sing? What is it going to sound like? How are you going to sell me? What am I going to do? I was trying a lot of different things, and you know, not that anything was done dishonestly, but as a writer, you have your computer studio, you had all these toys, you try different sounds, you try different, you know, ways of writing, and you kind of get more experimental, and you know, it was cool. But one thing I noticed that I didn't realize until I did this is that, you know, having over a 20-year history with Savatage and playing that kind of music, there are certain people that view you a certain way and hear you a certain way. And, you know, I think back to, like, when, say, Halford did his first solo stuff, and when Dickinson did his first solo stuff, you know, a lot of people were listening to it, and it was cool music, but they got really excited when Dickinson did Accident of Birth and when Halford did Resurrection, because it was like, all right, this is why we love these guys in the first place. And not that the other music was cool or not, but, you know, maybe even their own bands weren't doing what they did back in the old day. You know, Maiden and Priest might have strayed away from what it was that made a lot of these people fans of those bands in the very first place as it was. So I kind of thought about that, and I was working with the producer a little bit more heavily on Pins and Needles, and when I went to do this record, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go and just do a record that I'm going to really enjoy as a fan of, you know, the music that I played and grown up with and been a part of. And, you know, with Savatage itself, I was a huge fan of that band as well as being a member of the band. So I started thinking as, you know, Chris the fan, and going like, all right, well, if I was a fan of myself and my history, what would I want to hear from me? And I kind of just, I did throw it back. You know, I took out all the, you know, all the nonsense really, and just did a straightforward record. I totally recorded the whole entire thing myself, other than the drums. I mixed it and engineered it, and wrote everything and produced it, and just locked myself in the studio for 7 months and made a record. And I think that yeah, that's where the title came from. I just started going a little bit crazy because it was me and my cat. She was sitting on a couch watching me record and talk to myself for 12 hours a day, and it was kind of humorous. But you know, the whole stir crazy thing started setting in, and I just wrote this record. But I think that the results and the response has been something that I was kind of hoping to get. You know, you always hope to get something, and some of the responses hadn't been that way on from certain people on some of the stuff I did. Because I think, you know, Pins and Needles is a really cool record, but it went right over everybody's head. I mean, a lot of people's heads, they just didn't get it. I mean, there was a lot of stuff on that record that was tongue-in-cheek musically as well as lyrically, and everybody, I think, thought that I was taking myself a little bit too serious with it, and I wasn't. And I kind of went a little bit more futuristic with it, but I think, like I said, I think it just went over a lot of people's heads.
Do you think that with the new record, or did you purposely pull back the politics a little bit? I'm not saying that there's no politics in it, but there's less than there has been on the previous releases with this one.
Yeah, well, there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, I mean, being an election year, everybody was having politics thrown into their faces 24 hours a day, and we're still getting it now everywhere you look, you know. So I think that, you know, I'm not a politician, I'm a musician, so you could talk about it a lot, but I think sometimes people get tired of hearing politicians talk about it. So if they want to listen to, you know, music for that, a lot of people turn to music to escape from it. I just really wanted to do music that was kind of about real things and real emotions. And, you know, I touched on a few things here and there politically, but not really a lot. You know, there's a couple, like the Big Brother song is kind of just talking about, you know, the multi-million numbers of surveillance cameras that are watching people all the time. But it's not really going too heavily on the political side of things. I mean, I think I did enough of that in the Warped record and my other stuff to last for a few years. So.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it seems from listening to it and you know, listening through a lot of the lyrics, it just seems like you really kind of wrote from more of an introspective place. I mean, stuff like Shame or I'm Sorry or even I Won't Know. I think those are all probably real personal to you, right?
Actually, you know what's funny when you say that? Shame is the one song on the record that was written about politicians, but I did it.
Really?
I hid the meaning. Yeah, I hid the meaning in that. If you listen to that song and listen to the lyrics, it's actually written about a certain politician that became extremely successful over the last few months. So there's a lot. Well, you know, it's like politics, like anything else. You know, you see a lot of stuff that's real, and you see a lot of stuff that's not. And you know, that's the kind of, like I said, I took that song and I kind of hid some things in that one. But yeah, a lot of the stuff is just kind of personal, written about me, written about, you know, my certain feelings on things and myself from where I'm at and certain people in my life, certain things in my life, and you know, like I said, I think that people have appreciated it. You know, a song like Backs to the Wall was just kind of really seriously about me being at a point with doing solo records where, you know, it's a lot of work, and it also gets to be a pain in the neck sometimes because, you know, you everything falls on you. If you are a member of a band, you have, you know, a lot of times 4 members, 5 members of the band that are all picking up slack, doing things, management does, you know, this and that, everybody's kind of working together on it. But when you tag something with your name, it's like everything comes to you. Everybody looks to me to get paid. Everybody looks to me for this, that, the other thing. If something goes good, it's my fault. If something goes bad, it's my fault. So it's kind of one of these things where, you know, I play the music that I play because I love doing it, and the solo thing was getting to a point where it was getting mentally and physically draining. So I kind of just wrote that song Back to the Wall, kind of about, you know, being in a place where I'm going to do something that's going to make this fun for me again, or I might just, you know, let it sit because I can always play my guitar no matter what. I could take it into a subway station. I could take it down to, you know, a friend's bar or restaurant. I can take it anywhere and play my guitar and have a smile on my face. But to do things that are going to make me aggravated in playing music, it was something I didn't want to do.
Right. So ultimately what you're saying then is it'd be a lot less pressure if there was a Savatage reunion.
I didn't want to go straight to that, but yeah, it's like the whole freaking reason why I did solo music is because Savatage isn't playing. You know, it's real, and I try to say that to people. It's difficult for me to do something outside of TSO because there's not a lot of bands that turn around and go, look, guys, you know, I can't play October, November, December, January, and yeah, and it's really difficult for me to dictate that to somebody. And you know, really the only band that I have that I'd be able to play in besides TSO is Savatage. So it's kind of like, all right, well, I can't play with Savatage and TSO isn't touring, so that's why I continuously say I have to play with myself. So, I mean, you said it would be a heck of a lot easier if we just get the Savatage reunion together, which, you know, hopefully, and I've been saying it for years, but hopefully it's going to happen because I think personally, just my opinion too, and I've said it the whole time, I think that, you know, the Savatage fans have been so incredibly loyal to this band throughout every phase of music, throughout every phase of our band, throughout every lineup, every tragedy, every good thing, every bad thing. It's like they want to see the band again and as many of the members as possible. And I really think that, you know, not that you ever really seriously owe anybody anything, but it would be a really nice gesture if Savatage would go out there and at least do one run and let everybody see us again.
Well, Chris, we had John Oliva on the show last year, and I asked him, you know, the same thing, and he said he was all for it. And you know, obviously, you know, the politically correct answer is, well, everybody's so busy with their, you know, own projects, it just isn't happening. But I'd like to make it happen. What's the real story? Why isn't it happening?
I can't say the real story. It's rock and roll, you know that. No, You know what? Well, obviously, I'm not too busy with. I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing my solo thing because I'm not busy enough. So I can't really vouch for everybody else's real story. But I know that there are a lot of things going on. You know, there's some TSO studio work that's happening, and I know John's pretty busy and active doing the John Olivas Pain thing. But I mean, as far as that goes, it's like, you know, I think if Savatage really wanted to, we could go, like I said, we could just get together and play in somebody's backyard. So ultimately, it needs to be Savatage to turn around and go, okay, guys, let's get together and play. So, you know, I can't. Everybody's gonna. I think if I read an interview of somebody from 5 years ago and I talk to, you know, and then listen to something else that they said 3 months ago, it's like everything, it changes so much because the circumstances around what we're doing are changing so much all the time that it's really difficult to pin it on anything. But I think my situation stayed the same way. It's like, you know, as soon as they say go, I'm there. You know, no matter what day it is, no matter what month it is. So I'm just waiting for everybody to get on the same page, and hopefully it'll happen soon. I know everybody wants to do it. I've spoken to everybody in the band. I know everybody wants to do it. So, and I know all the fans want to see it. So time, tell me time.
All right, well, we can eliminate you from the dick in the system, so...
Well, Chris, do you think that part of it is, and I'm not going to ask you to point at anybody in specific, but I'm just, the fact that everybody, you know, obviously Zach's got Circle to Circle and John's got JOP and you've got your solo stuff, and, you know, obviously Paul O'Neill is busy with TSO and what, you know, everybody legitimately is in projects, but do you think that part of the reason is that people don't want to give up what is now basically their individual artistic outlet to go back to doing Savatage? Do you think that's kind of the hang-up?
You know what? I can't speak for everybody else. I really don't. I don't see that. You know, I think that in the fact that everybody's individual products in a lot of ways are so similar to Savatage. I know Circle to Circle music's got a little bit different as time has gone on, but I know JOP's music is very similar. Some of my stuff is. I mean, a lot of TSO music is Savatage music, and, you know, John's writing most of that with Paul and Bob Kinkle. So it's like, you know, I don't know exactly. I can't say exactly what it is. I think it's maybe just one of those things that it needs to be the right time for everybody. I think if you try to force it and there's a key person or a key element that's not in line, it can make something that can be really special to be something that's really ugly. And then maybe, you know, it's like maybe if we wait for it to happen, maybe it'll start Savatage playing and recording, and there might be a 10-year run where you might see 3 or 4 Savatage records and we might play more. But if you do it and not everybody's ready and you force it and there's some headbutting going on or some, you know, timing that's not right and things don't go the right way, maybe it might be one of these things where you do it and you never see it again. So I think in this case, I think it's really worth waiting for it to be the right time. I really do.
Notice he said key person here, so let's limit this down. No.
He's trying to get me to say, I ain't saying anything. We're waiting for Chris Oliva to resurrect from the dead. He's holding it up, all right? I'm going to blame it on Chris. It's all Chris Oliva's fault. That's it.
Sure.
I'm saying nothing more.
All right, Chris. Well, listen, we always appreciate your candor and your honesty about these kind of things, but we always enjoy the fact that you have new product to share with the fans out there. The latest release, obviously, House of Insanity, and you are promoting that on your website, chriscaffery.com, as well as your MySpace, myspace.com/Chris Caffery. So,
and the new pain in the ass that showed up in my life called Facebook. What the heck is this now? It's like, people are like, didn't you have a Facebook? And I'm like, oh my God, like there wasn't enough crap to deal with already. And I got people sending me like, you know, you've been sent a freaking birthday cake and you've been sent an invitation to, like, you know, jump on a pillow. And it's like, please, I don't need this.
We hate Facebook.
We don't use it.
It's too happy, slappy, kind of like, you know, I don't know. I could see it's kind of a cool thing because I've had a few friends that, you know, I haven't heard from years that, you're wondering what they're doing, and they send you a message, and now you know what they're doing and whatever. But after that, it's just like, oh my God, I've just the internet is making everything just a little bit too close to home.
Well,
I can't take it anymore.
I think you ought to add a new line to pisses me off. The internet pisses me off, and Facebook pisses me off, and the the microbloggers piss me off.
Exactly.
So you played on.
But there was a huge revolt by Facebook people because the Facebook people want to control their photos. It's like, people are throwing their photos all over online. Anybody, they can take them and do whatever they want, and then all of a sudden they're concerned about the copyright rules of their photos through Facebook. And I'm like, you guys have got way too much free time.
Well, everybody's a star and everybody's important, Chris. So it's all this self-importance these days.
Oh yes, exactly. You know that. We all know that.
Well, real quick there, Chris. You played on Tim Owen's new solo release.
Yeah, he's. I'm not sure exactly when it's coming out. I haven't. Do you guys have any information on that?
It's out in May.
Out in May.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wrote a song with him that it's called "The Shadows Are Alive," I believe was his title for it. And I actually was listening. I was driving today. I was listening to it in my iPod. I have a rough mix of it, and very, very heavy Sabbath-y kind of a tune, and of course Ripper's freaking amazing on it. So I haven't heard the whole record, but it's gonna be really cool. I think I know Rudy Sarzo and Simon Wright, the Dio rhythm section played on the tune that I wrote, and I think there might be some shows this summer. I've been talking to Ripper about it, so there's a possibility if he does some live shows and it's not during TSO time, I'm going to jump out and do some stuff with him. So,
wow, you're always a busy guy, aren't you?
But sometimes it just doesn't seem like you're busy enough. But yeah, I'm busy. I like it. You know what? I think that I'm always not necessarily complaining about being too busy when I'm too busy, but you sit there and go, God, I'd like some rest, and then 2 days later you're like, I got to get out of the house.
Nice. So. Nice. All right. Well, again, Chris, the new CD is called House of Insanity, and you mentioned something about early on about autograph copies. What's your plan there? Well, I usually do that through chriscaffery.com. I'll sell CDs, and there's a thing with the PayPal where you can put your name in, and I'll personally autograph them. And it's another thing to take up the time I don't have in the day, but it's something I think that's cool, and this time I think I may just be doing a limited run of that because I sold a lot of copies through my website like that before, and the one thing I didn't realize that happens with that is that it doesn't get reported into the number of records you sell and the scans. So, like when you're doing business, people are like, how many records you sell? And they look and they're like, well, there was all these other ones, but they don't show up. So there's particular business reasons why. That I'm going to try to figure out a way that I could still do that so people could still get the autographed copies, but I don't lose the numbers. Hey
Chris, you want me to tell you the secret? I actually know the secret to this. You want to know the secret to this?
What's this? Don't do the signed copies.
No, do the signed copies at the gigs. Do them at the gigs.
Oh, I know. I realize that too, but there's some people like, if I'm not playing in Australia, then they want a signed copy. It's kind of like I do it too there, but I mean, I sign anything people want at all the gigs, so I do it that way. But I do get a tremendous.
If they really want a Chris Caffery autograph,
I get a tremendous number of mail orders through the website, and I established that thing where people get that, and there's just really, it's they can't scan it that way, so. Well, here's the scoop, Chris. You go down to your local Best Buy or your mom and pop shop and you buy it retail, then you sign it, and then you jack up the price a little more and then sell it, and that way it gets scanned and they get an autographed copy. Yeah, you could do it too, but then I'd have to screw people out for the price of the CD, so. Yeah, in the end, it's like I want to try to do things to be able to charge people less money for CDs because the way the economy is right now and everything like that, it's like, ultimately I'd like to be able to charge people $5 a CD because I think with this new record, it's like I'm working out to where I'm kind of doing my own record company with major distribution, and that way it's like I turn around and I see what it is I'm making per record, and I'm like, holy shit, these record companies were really screwing me for a long time. Because I'm like going, this CD, I was doing some manufacturing stuff, but the CDs they cost like less than $1.
Yeah, 88 cents.
And then I look, it's like, and that's with the full booklets and everything and this, that, and the other thing, and then you turn around and these people were doing like, I walked into an FYE and my CD was there for like $18.99, and I'm like, somebody's getting screwed because I'm seeing a freaking $1.50 off of this stupid thing. It's like, it's amazing. I don't know,
Well, preach it there, Brother Caffery.
What do you do?
Preach the word. Preach the word. We know somebody's been screwing you guys for years.
Yeah, but you know what? In the end, what happened is all the record companies, they got it in the end because the fans had the opportunity to steal the music, and they took advantage of it. I think if CDs were treated as a reasonable medium instead of a rich folks toy, because when CD players first came out, they were kind of expensive, and the only people that had them were people that already had cassette players and were buying their whole catalog again. I mean, and I think we saw how CDs were selling, and they're like, wow, we can sell these things, and people, how many copies of Aerosmith Rocks do you own? How many copies of Back in Black? Back in Black like 5 times. It's like, the record companies like, oh, we have records, now we have cassettes, now we have CDs, now we have and it just, you turn around, one breaks, now you download them again. It's like, but people just turned around and said, they had the opportunity to steal and burn, and it melted away the industry. I think if the CDs were cheaper, it may not have stopped the downloading, but I think it would have stunted the growth of it and maybe gave a reasonable effort towards trying to stop what happened with it. But I mean, record sales are down 80% now, and that's not only economy.
You know what, man? We always say that if it was a $1 buy, people would still be buying them. If they were $10, people would still be buying CDs. We say it all the time on the show, and I honestly believe that. They're willing to download it for $10.
Oh yeah, you know how many I have the tons of people that are sitting there and they email me constantly and they're like, all right, well, I've heard some tracks from your record and I really like it, but I'm not going to download it. I want the CD. I'm waiting. I want to buy the actual CD. And there's people that don't like to buy things mail order. They want it from a record store, and all the record stores have closed. So it's like there's a big chain reaction of things that have been screwing that up. But, it's like I think my new CD is going to be available in most of the Best Buys, and I'm working on a deal that's going to get it in the Walmart and stuff like that now. So it's like I'm trying to get it to the normal places because, TSO and a lot of my core audience now is a little bit more normal than the specialized metal crowd that a lot of these smaller labels were trying to get me to. And it's like, I can't get the record to people that don't know it's there, and I also can't get the record to people that that don't shop in the record shops. So I have to make sure I get it to the places that I can get it to. So that's why I've actually taken a little bit of extra time on it, because I'm trying to work out some kind of different special deals that other than the ones I did before, where you just sign to a label and they have whatever distribution they have, and that's it. I'm working with individual deals with different companies and you're just trying to maximize the business, because it's different now. You just got to stay on top of it.
Sure. And you're in control of your own destiny as well, so that's a cool thing.
Yeah, it's the worst part.
Well,
it's like, yep, that jackass Caffery's gonna fuck it up again.
Well,
and then there's gonna be some dickhead on Blabbermouth that's gonna say how much it sucks anyway. So whatever.
Well, Chris, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. Is there anything else that you want to tell the fans that we haven't talked about? I know we covered quite a bit of ground here.
No, like I said, the record's out. If you want to download some stuff now, cool. If not, I've got a retail release coming up probably in the next 6 weeks, and I'm going to be doing some live shows, and probably going to be getting down to South America in June. I'm going to be doing some acoustic stuff and some clinics. I know John Oliva's Payne's going down there, and I'm going to probably be jumping out into the cities and onto the tour that he's on, not doing a full show, like playing during the day and and doing clinics and appearances, and I think I might be jumping up on stage with him and doing a couple songs during his show, and just getting around to see the Sava fans and get myself down to South America. So to start promoting my solo thing down there and try to build it, because it's weird down there, and I got a really different kind of a profile as a guitar player, because Savatage, the only Savatage anybody had ever seen there was the one that I played in. So there's a real big amount of fans that grew to like that band, liking me as a guitar player. So it's like I have a really special audience in South America that I want to get to play for, so I don't want to ignore them.
Well, let's see. We got Chris and John on stage together, so we could probably eliminate those two. Let's see who's left. All right, Chris. Well, again, we appreciate you taking the time. Go over to chriscaffery.com, pick up the new CD, visit them over there. It is MySpace, myspace.com/Chris Caffery, and yada, 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 you know the rest. So, Chris, as always, we always let our guests pick a departing song and maybe tell us a story about it. So what would you like us to play?
What song's on my record again? Oh, my God, help me.
Well,
I'm sitting here seriously going, what the frick songs are on my album? You know what? I think we should... Geez, where am I going to go? I think, all right, well, we'll touch on one of the ones that maybe was, where should I go? Should I go with the Fleas, or should I go with the, I won't know? I
like Fleas better, personally.
All right, we can go with Fleas. Well, Fleas is cool because it's, we have Glenn Drover from Eidolon and Megadeth, and actually Glenn was filling in for Alex when Testament was touring during the TSO tour. He does some of the solo work on this song with me, and Fleas is pretty simple. It's a song that I wrote about critics, and I nicknamed them the Fleas.
The Fleas and Ticks of rock and roll.
Yeah, they're the Fleas. That's basically what this. The critics they've always got something to say. So with this new record, it was kind of like the first song that I wrote for it was this song called The Fleas, and I was back to fight the Fleas and just kind of, they're always there, and it's never going to go anywhere, but this song is called The Fleas, and it's for all my wonderful, wonderful fans, friends in the critic world.
All right, well, from the brand new Chris Caffery solo release, House of Insanity, it's Fleas, exclusively here
on your Classic Metal Show.
Thanks for checking out the Best of the Classic Metal Show. You can tune into the Classic Metal Show live every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com.
The Classic Metal Show.